Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Between Two Consultants. I'm Nicholas Kelly,
And I'm Ethan Silvers.
and today we're talking about the top five considerations for architecture redesign. And we have a familiar face with us again. We've got Ilya to talk about what that is and what are those top five tips. So, Ilya, I might just quickly ask you for those folks, very unusually, who hadn't seen your previous episode, if you could just do a very brief 10-hour introduction, please.
10 hours. Perfect.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. My name is Ilya Tsapin. I work for Logic 2020 for the past 6 years, and I lead the architecture practice at the company. It was quite a great journey, and I was involved in so many interesting projects. And one of the reasons that Ethan and Nicholas asked me to come to this interview is to talk about how you would redesign your applications. What are the top things to consider for that? And this is kind of bread and butter of my practice. So thank you for having me.
That's a good point, Ilya. I guess we're here to talk about that. So top five considerations. Ilya, go ahead. Start the countdown.
Okay.
Number one.
Very common. We have a situation when the client is coming to us and say, well, hey guys, we have been planning to re-architect our application for 2 years already, and we're still not sure how to tackle this. Could you please help us? And for me, this is a kind of a red flag. Why? Because at some point, the more planning you add to your architecture, the less outcome or benefit it will give you. Because at some point, you just need to say, okay, guys, let's stop doing the planning, let's start doing the work, let's start doing some POCs here and there, do profiling, this kind of stuff. Especially that we have a cloud at our leisure. Because with the clouds, GCP, AWS, Azure, it's forgiving. You can spin up your workload, you can try it out. If it doesn't work for you, you can just tear it down. There is no need for a comprehensive end-to-end planning that you have to do prior to that. Of course, some planning is needed, but there is a certain volume after which it could be too excessive, I would say. So, recommendation number one, at some point, just start doing the work. Cloud is forgiving. Do your experimentations. Do that. Second, when you think about your architecture of your solution that you're going to redesign, a lot of time companies tend to think, okay, let's just move it from point A to point B, or let's upgrade this particular component, which is the bottleneck. But in reality, it's an opportunity for the company to kind of start from scratch and rethink their workload and understand what is the requirements that are applicable not for now, but for the future. If right now your application is serving, let's say, 10,000 people, but tomorrow you are shooting for 100 million, you definitely have to think about it in advance. And if you feel that this is a useful use case for you, and hopefully it is because you're in a good business, then you absolutely need to reconsider your technological stack and your approach for that particular setup that you don't even see right now, but hopefully you will see in the future. So that would be recommendation number two.
Number two, and Ilya, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, Ilya, I was going to ask there, and you said it just at the end. How do you plan for things you don't know, like those use cases where you think, just don't even come to mind? How do you make your technology assessment in those situations?
Well, I would say unleash your imagination, right? Understand the business problem you're trying to solve and think what could be, and bring it to extreme, if you will. If right now you are working, let's say in New York area, provide video streaming for specific types of the users, do you think that tomorrow your company would grow to the extent that you will be doing this across the country or internationally? that will dictate the whole different setup and the whole different volumes, and you need to choose the technology that would be able to support it in the first place. But if you think that you have a pretty niche business and you, let's say, work only in Redmond, right, and all your customers are local, that's a different story. And then you have to ask yourself, well, is it your business model? And if so, maybe that's not quite the case. So it depends, Nicholas. I wish I had a more prescriptive answer for you.
So do I.
It's like when you create a software, when you write a code, you need to think about edge cases. Same thing here. You need to look at the edge case and you need to think if the edge case could become an extreme. Make sense?
Absolutely. And like what my takeaway from that, Ilya, was, to align with the business strategy, right? And I think sometimes the temptation, particularly if it's IT leading in this type of initiative, might be to do it in a silo or in isolation from business leadership. Like, what is the business strategy so you can explore those use cases? Like you said, is there a plan in the business maybe in 5 years' time to be international? Right?
I can't agree with you more, but then remember my recommendation number one, don't overplan. Because sometimes organization could struggle to evaluate what is their long-term roadmap, and then they just frozen in the state of planning forever.
Yeah, understood.
Okay, so the first two, we have don't overplan, and then we have align with business strategy.
Correct. The next one on the same pattern is what is your current SLAs and what should be your SLAs in the future. For example, SLA is service level agreement. For example, how available your application must be. Can you avoid a downtime for 10 hours per month, 10 minutes per month, 10 seconds? Depending on what the answer is, it will dictate what technology you should be using. Sometimes I see a lot of customers who come to us and say, like, we need to have a highly available application, like 99.99. That would require a lot of work, not super rocket science, but still vigorous thinking how to achieve that. But then in reality, it turns out they don't need that much availability. They can afford to be down for a couple of hours with no issue. And the application that is available 99.9 is much more expensive than the application which is available for only 99, right? So these are considerations business should also ask themselves and be honest with them. Because otherwise, yeah, I want like top-notch, the best ever, and then, oops, I cannot afford it.
Yeah, speaking of downtime, Nick, how much downtime do you have on a weekly basis?
Like just not being productive, trying to manage you and
like
the things cleaning up after you. Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean. Like,
it's like a blockout, like you don't understand anything.
Yeah, I've spent most of my week doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard work, isn't it, Nick?
It is, yeah. To help you navigate the obstacles and valleys and troughs of life.
Every night when I go to bed, and I say a prayer, of course, before I go to bed, it's around Nicholas Kelly, just being so appreciative for him to clean up my many messes. So, Ilya, thank you for allowing us to pause that. Number 3 was SLAs. I can't wait for number 4.
Number 4 is align with the skill set. And that is a twofold thing. If you have already your workload and you have a team working on it, you need to consider, will this team be capable of supporting you in your journey to move forward? If not, you have 2 options. Option number 1, some compromises and maybe shift to the technologies that might not be so optimal for the workload standpoint, but could be supported by your team. it could be some challenge for them, but not as much as some technologies that are, let's say, too modern for them to use. Think about it like this. You started with one technology, like a pure relational database, right? And then you want to move directly to graph databases, which is a completely different story, right? That change could be too much for the team who never worked with graph databases before. So you need to settle somewhere in the middle. And also, your other option would be to consider hiring new team members who could be experts in the new technologies that you plan to use. And by that, you will expand the team knowledge in general, and you basically will be helping your current team members to accelerate with onboarding to the new technologies. So that would be option number 2.
And Nick, something that we've talked about before is, in terms of architecture, is neural networks. So I'm guessing if you're moving from like microservices to neural networks, that would probably be a big sea change, wouldn't you think, Nick?
Yeah, like you're talking about the Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet.
Yeah. Obviously, important consideration. And Ilya, hopefully, you're not part of the inception of the T800 that the documentary Terminator.
Documentary,
yeah.
The future forward-facing documentary.
Yeah.
So hopefully, nothing you say here today is planting the seeds for any of that kind of carry on.
For all we know, Ilya is part of the neural network.
Exactly.
Exactly. And then I would also advocate, that being said, Ilya, I think we'd advocate for maybe a 50% SLA for these types of projects, in which case it gives the humans 50% of their time to be able to combat Skynet. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Or consider long vacations, right?
That sounds good.
Yeah. Although since Ilya's part of Skynet, I don't know how much advice we want to take from him about how to manage Skynet. Something to consider. Ilya, we got distracted by Nick. So number 1, don't overplan. Number 2, you got to plan, align with the business strategy. Number 3, you can't see my fingers. Number 3, SLAs, plan for the downtime, of which Nick never has downtime. Number 4, align with skill sets. I can't wait for number 5.
Number 5 is basically plan the transition. Because whenever you will be building the new system, you need to plan how the new and the old system will be operating during the same time frame. Also, how you would transfer from one to another. Is it a cutoff? Do you have any kind of smooth transition? How that would work has to be carefully planned. Because you don't want to be in a situation where something has been lost in the middle. And you also don't want to be in a situation that team is just overburdened by supporting 2 systems at a full scale and having issues on both sides and spread thin between 2 workloads all of a sudden, while the team has a capacity only to manage one of them. Of course, it depends from one workload to another, and details are there. Well, you even mentioned microservices. So if your application already is using microservices as a concept, you should be considering things like canary deployments. This is the situation where you slowly putting components of the new system that work in parallel to the old one, and you basically have ability to test your system in production, minimizing the impact if something goes sideways. If you see that your new container, your canary deployment is not working as expected, you can quickly shut it down, and then you'll have your investigation why this is happening, as opposed to, okay, let's have a big bang, and from today to tomorrow, we just flip the switch, and now you will live with a new application. On the top of that, probably last comment from my side.
Finally.
More than once, I saw a pattern where the client is basically planning this big bang deployment with a flip of a switch. But before that, they planned for some actual development work to kind of wire the new workload to the legacy systems. Could not be worse situation ever, because then you have developers who are working, let's say, Saturday evening to do all this wiring with a very tight timeline in a very stressful situation. That is a setup for the failure. So by all means, try to avoid in your project and deployment plans anything of that kind.
So, Ilya, we have a question in here from a viewer, and I think we can fit it in just before we wrap up. It's a question from John Connor asking you, as one of the architects of Skynet, how do you feel the transition went between the T800 model and the T1000 model, the liquid metal, and how do you feel Skynet handled that?
Could not be worse, because as you remember, the psychological profile is completely different, right? So the transition was not so smooth.
Was that because they did a big bang transition, or did they not have the proper change management involved for that transition from the 800s to the 1000s?
That's exactly. You should have put them in the same classroom for like 10 years or something, so they have a shared vision and same values, if you will. So after that, you can safely deprecate one model and go forward with another one.
Yeah, I think the deprecation was the problem there, right? And yeah, that's good. Yeah, and appreciate that. Appreciate the insight.
That was really good. We have one other question that just came in, and they asked to be anonymous, so I'll respect that. The question is, when will you have a show that highlights the top 1,200 ways that Ethan is a better host than Nick?
That's a tough sell. I hope we have to do it in prime time, right?
Yeah, absolutely, prime time.
Yeah. It should be like a filibuster.
Yeah. Ilya, do you want to get us started on that list?
I hope you two guys have similar cups with the faces of each other. Is that true? Nick? Okay. I was hoping that some of you forgot the cup, so I can corner this person and say that he was not well prepared.
We're always ready for you, Ilya.
So no, I failed, Ethan.
All right, let me just repeat the next 5 before Nick closes us out, and correct me if I get any of these wrong. I took notes. Number 1, don't overplan. Number 2, align with business strategy. Number 3, figure out the SLAs, things such as downtime. Number 4, align with the skill sets that you have or you will need. And number 5, there we go, it's in the screen. Number 5, work out the transition plan.
Awesome.
Yeah, sounds good.
Ilya, thank you so much for joining us for another riveting episode of Between Two Consultants, where we learned a little bit more about Skynet and some of the architect's plans behind it. Thank you for joining, everyone. I'm Nicholas Kelly.
And I'm Ethan Silvers.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.